Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. The alleged crash of an extraterrestrial spacecraft near Roswell, New Mexico has become the touchstone of modern ufology. Hard evidence remains elusive as years of speculation and theory have all come up just a little bit short. Now, a sheaf of documents that surfaced more than a decade ago is leading some experts to believe that not only have extraterrestrials visited our planet, but also that the U.S. government has known about it from day one.
If one accepts for even a moment the premise that we've been visited, that an alien was here, that bodies have been found, there would have to be a control group established to examine, understand, and determine what the makeup of it is and what the motivations are and what our vulnerability is.
UFO investigator Jamie Chanderay believes that proof of just such a group does exist in the form of authentic-looking documents sent to him on film in December 1984. The film, whose sender is unknown to this day, contained astounding images, pages from a 1952 briefing document meant for President-elect Dwight D. Eisenhower. The memo describes a secret government UFO team working on the Roswell crash, a shadow cabinet codenamed Majestic, or MJ12. This document also informs Eisenhower about the discovery of wreckage and alien bodies near Roswell, explosive revelations delivered to Chanderay by an anonymous source.
It was very interesting to me because it was analogous to Watergate in the sense that there was a deep throat who wanted to share information. And ultimately that process led to the arrival of the MJ12 documents. I'm a skeptic. You have to be a skeptic. You can't simply...
MJ12 documents are significant, but he's holding out for hard evidence.
You can have sightings up the wazoo. You can always get an expert to explain it, even if he has to hook up an explanation. Now, if MJ12 is real, their main problem was keeping track of the hardware so that we could study it, learn it, without letting the absolute proof get out. Remember, it's the absolute proof. It's the bodies and hardware that cannot be duplicated here on Earth, which conclusively proves this stuff is real.
The government's a multi-headed dragon. And sections of that change every 4 years. So you have this constant change going on in musical chairs. So if a group is going to indeed control this information in some fashion, it has to be a group that is in place continuously. With that kind of control comes the danger always. Well, who watches the watchers? Forget the motivations of the aliens for a moment. What's the motivations of those that control the information?
Veteran UFO researcher Stanton Friedman believes that MJ12 would have been motivated to keep quiet about advanced alien technology in order to protect national security in the tense Cold War standoff following World War II.
There was a real belief in Washington that when Stalin got ready, he would attack. There was a general consensus that we were going to be in a battle to the end with the Soviet Union. And therefore, any kind of technological advantage we could get would be well worth having, and you couldn't possibly release that information to anybody.
In researching his book on the Majestic 12 documents, Friedman meticulously verified every detail within the Eisenhower document. He investigated each supposed member of the group and found that they were the best and brightest military minds of the day, including Secretary of Defense James Forrestal, high-ranking Army, Navy, and Air Force officers, and the first 4 directors of Central Intelligence. Only one name on the list didn't seem to fit. Publicly, MJ12 member Dr. Donald Menzel was an astronomer at Harvard and a rabid UFO debunker.
Menzel, in his position at Harvard, was in a perfect position to act as the astronomer telling the world this is all nonsense. Nothing to do with anything. This isn't real. We've got explanations for everything, which is what he did say.
And I have found that his explanations are just plain wrong when you analyze them carefully. As a matter of fact, you get the impression that here was a top-notch scientist treating this subject totally unscientifically, trying to think up anything that he could do to snow the public, as it were, with an explanation, even if it made no sense.
You know, it might seem, well, why would he be lying? Why would he do this? And others who defend him say, oh, he wouldn't do this and he wouldn't do that. Well, of course he would. He absolutely would, as would every single one of those individuals, and they wouldn't tell their wives or anything else, because that was what was important for their country.
Along with the Eisenhower briefing document, both Chandray and Friedman have found cryptic references to MJ12 in declassified government documents, but nothing has bolstered the authenticity of MJ12 more than this. More anonymous films sent to ufologist Don Berliner in 1994. On it, a supposed military field manual dated 1954.
This was a set of instructions, really, to retrieval teams who would be at the scene soon after an event took place in which a saucer had crashed and in which there were bodies and wreckage. How to wrap them, what kind of boxes to use, where to send the pieces, what the cover stories were. And one of the things that comes through loud and clear is they wouldn't have put such a manual together unless this had happened more than once. Which makes you wonder, so how many of the crashes were there? How many bodies were retrieved?
For verification of the new manual, Friedman turned to a former colleague, retired McDonnell Douglas scientist Dr. Robert Wood. If Wood, an expert in the detection of forged documents, could authenticate the manual, Friedman felt he would have proof of a government alien conspiracy.
My initial reaction when I first saw them was, if this is genuine, why, it's dynamite, like the smoking gun.
Dr. Wood was painstaking in his examination of the document pages, comparing it to an authentic Army field manual from the same period. The size of both manuals was identical, conforming to the standard 6:9 ratio for government field manuals of the era. And Dr. Wood examined this seal, which other experts insist is proof that this manual is a fake.
If you look at the front of this document, at the bottom, there's a logo that says War Department. And the War Department was actually eliminated at the end of World War II. So you'd expect they would have stopped using the logo. But in fact, the Army, in its field manuals, continued to use the War Department logo up until as late as 1960. And we have exact copies of such manuals.
If these documents are genuine, they prove the case. You don't need anything more.
And, Friedman says, we are not the only ones who will suffer from continued secrecy.
I think one of the reasons they're coming here is to make sure we don't go out, to take our brand of friendship, namely hostility, other places. This is truly a primitive society whose major activity is tribal warfare. So I don't think we can expect aliens to deal with us as equals. We're not. We haven't earned our place at the Galactic Federation Round Table.
Both Stanton Friedman and Jamie Chandray believe the clandestine Majestic 12 still exists today. Chandray also told Sightings that he believes the U.S. Air Force will soon release MJ12 documents of its own, which will profoundly change the way the world views the UFO phenomenon.
Sightings on the Sci-Fi Channel.